Welcome, everyone, to the show. This week, we are looking at people that just don't understand what they need to do to get their bodies doing what they need to do after an injury. Most people are looking at pain medications or even seeing an orthopedist and off to physical therapy if possible, but there's always another way. And this week, we are going to discuss those other ways to get you back to where you need to be. I'm Dr. Jason Alviene, and you're listening to Structurally Sound. Our guest today, we've got Erik Nason. Erik, he is definitely one of my mentors. He actually was an extern coordinator for me. I went and trained under him for about 3 months. When I was working on my master's degree in sports science and rehab. Erik, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. It's a privilege being here.
I mean, it's been a while since I've actually been able to talk to you. But when I did my externship with you, it was just such a surreal thing for me at the time, being able to go to Cape Canaveral and be at Kennedy Space Center and just having NASA and seeing all that stuff going on top of being able to help people. How have you been since then?
Well, I'm doing great. It's as we both were saying before, social media is what keeps us up. I feel like I'm part of your family and see all the growth and progression that's been going on there. And it was so long ago. It seems like that we were together at the Kennedy Space Center with the Rehab Works program. But you're right. That's a fascinating place where we are launching human beings into space, and we're caring for everyone on the ground that is taking care and making our United States space program possible. So that's an awesome time. And you know what? I just loved being a part of the program, being able to share that experience with so many other athletic trainers and chiropractors and other healthcare providers that came through our program. So it was awesome. Been doing great since then.
Well, I mean, I learned so much going through there that I actually, in my office, starting in the next few months, I have an athletic trainer that's going to be coming into the office and doing rehab on top of also doing training as well. It's just such a great thing to have, and being able to have that license in Florida and knowing that they can take a step beyond and actually go out on the field and work with sports teams.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those that are listening, the athletic trainer is usually misconstrued on what we do and our education. And so, our certified athletic trainers, we're certified through a national organization. We're licensed as a healthcare provider in the state of Florida under the Department of Health. And so right now, our education platform is a 6-year master's level program. And there's accredited schools across this country that the knowledge that our athletic trainers are graduating with right now is just absolutely amazing. It's kind of a combination of physical therapy and orthopedics and PA school and emergency care and EMS model. And so, our athletic trainers are working all over the country in various settings. As you saw us at the Kennedy Space Center, I had left there and went and became an athletic trainer, similar to what your athletic trainer in your office is going to be. I was a physician extender, as we used to call it, but an AT in the physician practice, serving the patients, increasing volume, improving revenue within the office, but also just adding that additional care and treatment to the patient that extends after that physician leaves the room. Just being able to educate, to train, and even provide treatment and care. So yeah, athletic trainers are very versatile, and you can plug them into quite a few locations and settings and find success.
Yeah, I find that it's the name that gives the misconstrue to what you do. When you hear trainer, you think, okay, somebody trains me and athletic beforehand. Oh, they're going to train me how to play a sport. And
Yeah.
that is so far from everything that you do. I mean, if you do train somebody for a sport, it's very minimal. But I would think after they work with you, they're going off to the strength and conditioning specialist for those types of activities.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it on the head. The term athletic trainer, our title has been We've been back and forth with that in our profession on whether we need a name change, or stay with what we have. And we felt that we need to stay with the term athletic trainer. It came from the foundation of the beginning of our profession, where athletic trainers were that they were physical education majors, individuals, coaches who worked and served the athletes of the local high school or university. As it grew into a profession, the name stuck with it, but we felt that the best thing that we can do is advocate and educate. So we advocate for who we are, for what we can do. We educate those that are around us, our patients, of the services that we provide. And slowly but surely, it is growing. We have athletic trainers in your traditional high schools, your collegiate settings, but we also have athletic trainers in law enforcement, in performing arts, and in extreme sports, and in corporate settings, hospitals, physician offices. You name it. We're very versatile, and we provide a very strategic approach to rehabilitation, with a twist of injury prevention and preparing that patient to get back to their lifestyle. It may not be a sport, it may be returning to work, but that's our goal, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, when it comes to helping somebody be able to use their body again, it's not always about what sport are they going to play. It's what do they need to do with their body. And that's where you guys do come in. And I don't think a lot of people realize how versatile you are. Now, when I worked with you back at Rehab Works, I remember you were doing a lot of stuff with rodeo and NASCAR. Are you still in that?
Well, actually, yes. So anyone that's listening, I have lived the ultimate life of an athletic trainer, of doing everything except traditional sports. So, we always said it was rockets, racing, and rodeo. That was my 3 R's in my profession. And so I serve on the Justin Sports Medicine team. I'm an athletic trainer with the Justin Boots Sports Medicine team. Justin Boots, a predominant cowboy boot company that has been behind the rodeo athlete for many, many years, financially supporting a traveling sports medicine program. So I'm the Southeast representative for the organization, and we provide sports medicine services to about I would say about 6 rodeos here in the Southeast, and then accumulating here in December in Vegas at the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. So those are extreme athletes. Those are a little different than the ones that we would come across probably in your clinic or my clinic. It's just kind of but they really lean on the knowledge of our not only athletic trainers but our physicians that travel with them. And then NASCAR, I spent 10 years with the American Le Mans and IMSA series, and after that was sold to NASCAR. I kind of was out of it for a few years, and now I'm kind of back into it with AdventHealth, where I'm currently working. And as we are the official healthcare provider, AdventHealth is at the Daytona International Speedway, and have a strong relationship and partnership with Chip Ganassi Racing and their drivers Ross Chastain and Kurt Busch.
All right. So AdventHealth, how did you fall into that? I mean, Rehab Works to AdventHealth. I mean, was there stuff in between?
Yeah. Well, I was with Rehab Works at the Kennedy Space Center for 17 years. So that was a big chunk of my career, and really expounded that program and grew it, and proved that we were a cost saving program, as it was a free service on site. We had cost containment. We avoided lost work time. We increased productivity by having that service on site. And so it was a great experience. And as I grew professionally, I wanted to get into the orthopedic office. I went and served as a athletic trainer in the physician's office, in an ortho office, for about a year and a half, and then moved into the management side, where I managed the orthopedic office of 4 orthos and about 30 other employees in the staff, including rehabilitation. So that was a great opportunity, really opened my eyes to that. Making a transition to AdventHealth. AdventHealth, it was Florida Hospital at the time, And they were doing a partnership with a local school district, Volusia County Schools, and they were looking for an athletic trainer to be a care advocate liaison between the hospital system, Florida Hospital, and the school district, and supporting their sports medicine needs within the district. So I kind of came on board with that project, but it's kind of expanded. So currently with AdventHealth, I am the manager of sports medicine services. I kind of manage the clinical integration of all of our partnerships in the Central Florida division. So I focus on the North region. So we have partnerships with Flagler County and Volusia County schools, where
Oh,
we help
wow.
support the athletic trainer. So in Volusia County, we help set up best practices, policy, new mandates, everything from concussion to exertional heat illness protocols and ECGs. So we just made it mandatory that every athlete in Volusia County has to have an ECG screening as part of their pre-participation physical. And a lot of the counties in the Central Florida area are moving in that direction. In fact, there's a legislative bill out there that may, I would imagine, make that mandatory in the next couple of years for all students. We have a partnership in Flagler County where we actually hired 2 athletic trainers to work as an AdventHealth employee, but embed them in the 2 schools. So we can just continue to drive best practice services to the athletes of those communities. But we also work with NASCAR in Daytona
Hmm.
Beach. So we're the official healthcare provider there. We're open. I think we serve the 9 first aid stations in our care center like 80 some days out of the year. Everybody thinks that we just do stuff just for the NASCAR races, which we do. Those are our heavy events, but we have
Hmm.
concerts and we have other sporting events. We have the Clash Challenge, or it used to be called the Daytona, the Challenge Daytona. It's a triathlon, and I know you're a runner, and I know they have the triathlon. I guess it's a world qualifier, Olympic qualifier
Uh-huh.
in December. So we provide the medical services there. So we'll have massage and stretching and injury evaluation and care at the finish line, right there on pit road at the racetrack. So we do a lot with them. We also have partnerships across our whole region, everywhere from the west side of Florida, where we're with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then in Central Florida, we have the Orlando Magic. We have Disney Wild World of Sports. We have the Disney Resorts. We have the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center. So
Wow.
we are really involved. Our marketing and branding team, partnership team, they do an amazing job of strategically aligning themselves with sporting and entertainment services and events and teams in our area. But myself and a couple other on our team as athletic trainers, we want to drive a clinical integration that it's just not a banner, it's just not a billboard, that we're actually getting athletic trainers and other healthcare providers in there to take care of our athletes and teams. And so that's kind of what my day-to-day looks like, and it never looks the same any day,
It
but
seems
that's
it's going to be
awesome.
different every day.
It
Yeah,
is great.
yeah, I've done quite a few triathlons, all the way up to Ironman events. Haven't done them in a few years, but it's always good to have those people there in case you do need them.
Yeah.
I felt like there was times where it's like, oh, I might need to visit the tent, but it's good to have them there, and the massage and everything. Now I'm
Yeah,
going to step back for a moment.
sure.
I know what these are for, but maybe you could help our listeners understand what would be the purpose of doing an ECG on the athletes and making that mandatory.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So there's a non-for-profit organization called Who We Play For out of the Cocoa Beach area, and their story came as they were all soccer players at Marin Island High School, and one of their best friends collapsed on the field and died of sudden cardiac arrest. And
Oh,
so as they went to FSU for college and they all kind of regrouped, they started a nonprofit called Who We Play For, and they're playing for this kid, their friend, their colleague that had died on the field, that they wanted to make sure that every child had a ECG screening, so that these very small abnormalities in the cardiovascular system that are causing sudden cardiac arrest and other rhythmic problems that are putting the heart in an abnormal rhythm or under distress during physical activity, a simple screening can usually identify those a lot better than doing, the physical, listening to the heart and, doing any kind of, manual evaluation. So they've been pushing the screen athletes for quite a while in Central Florida. Brevard County here has made it mandatory. Osceola County has made it mandatory. Orange County and Volusia County made it mandatory last year. And the purpose of that is there's an abnormal, undetectable rhythm that is only found in an ECG that can lead to sudden cardiac arrest. I have to look at the numbers. I don't want to quote it wrong, but it's a very low number. I mean, we screened about 500, almost 600 students at our last physical event in Volusia County, and we had about 6 abnormality flags. 6 screenings were flagged for abnormalities. 1 was a red flag, and that child has since had surgery, life-saving surgery, because of that screening. A $20 screening. AdventHealth paid for all these screenings. We never wanted a child kind of go without it. We had a child at Seabreeze High School that was I believe a cheerleader and a basketball player. She was doing some kind of cardio training in the gym, running, and collapsed. And was eventually, obviously, CPR was started right away by an SRO. She was taken to the hospital, transferred to a children's hospital in Jacksonville, where she was monitored and was ended up treated and released. But if she would have had a screening, we would have known that abnormality in her heart was there, and she could have been treated before having that incident. So our goal is to make this a mandatory process in our state. Now, a lot of healthcare providers will say, well, there's a lot of false positives. There's a lot of, abnormalities that are detected or are wrongfully detected. It's an extra cost. And we understand all that. And who we play for has really worked with international doctors, not only here in the States, but around the world, to create a sports criteria to the screening of this ECG, so that it really takes into effect the age of the child, the physical activity of the child, and really cuts down. I think it's a 1 to 3% false positive rate. And so it really cuts down on that unnecessary stress on the family when an abnormal reading comes in. But the counties have accepted it with open arms. They've been really, really enthusiastic with it. We're getting ready to do an event at the end of this month in Flagler County School District, where we're providing ECG screenings for their high school athletes. And this is October is Sudden Cardiac Awareness, or Sudden Cardiac Arrest Awareness Month.
Okay.
So we're kind of tying in the ECG screenings with that, but just want to educate parents, coaches, and school districts just on this. So I think we have several other counties that are looking to get on board. And like I said before, there's talks legislatively about a bill that would mandate this as part of the pre-participation physical.
Yeah, and I mean, in ECG, EKG, depending on what the person heard, I mean, this is just a test to look at the heart, and there's no side effects to it.
None.
It's all electrical. And if your county or state does not mandate it, you can still go have your child checked.
Absolutely.
So it's one of those things that if you want to have your child checked and make sure, and if you do come up with a false positive, guess what? You can do another test. So that's always a good possibility, that false positives, at least you run another one. If it comes up negative, good to go.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we do. When we have those that are flagged, that are low risk, at all of them, we offer them a free screening. They come back, they do another screening, or we meet them at their school. We'll do a screening. Like you said, it's a 12 lead sticker electrodes that go to a little box. The box delivers the information to a laptop, puts it in a cloud EMR, and we have pediatric cardiologists that read it. And so it's spot on. So AdventHealth is really behind this also. We're really trying to make a movement across the Central Florida region to support the schools in making this possible for every athlete, and working along with who we play for. it's been a joy, and I love seeing their mission come to life.
All right. So here comes the big question.
Uh-oh.
For you, when was that time where you made a huge mistake and you learned from it? Because it happens to everyone.
A huge mistake, and I learned from it.
Yeah, something that's happened throughout your career where you look back going, if I only had done this, and then you don't fall in that category anymore. You don't have to use any names.
No, we wouldn't want to do that. Well, I don't necessarily say that I made a mistake in my career, but there was a time in my career that was extremely painful, and I felt I had made a big mistake. And as I look back and I say, wow, that was hard, but I learned so much from it and grew, and I'm a better person today. So when I left, it was really hard because I was in my comfort zone at the Space Center. I loved working with Mary Kirkland there and the whole NASA and KSC staff. It was great, but it just got to a point where we grew so much from a physical standpoint, and then from a career professional standpoint, I grew, that I needed a new challenge. That's who I am. I went and got my MBA and in like 2015, because I knew that as I grew in my profession, I wasn't sure if I'd have hands-on with patients on a daily basis, or I would move into management. And that's kind of where I am now, is moving more into the non-patient side of things, but directing the care to the patients and needs from a management standpoint. So when I went to the orthopedic office, that was like Frogger, the video game. I was on the sidelines and I jumped in the traffic, and like there was, you did not stand still for very long. It was 50 plus patients a day, surgery 2 days a week. I was dictating and doing notes for the ortho and for our services. I was managing all of our post-ops. It was a lot of work, and there were stressful days that I said, what did I do? I just left the rehab world and went into the orthopedic world, and it was crazy. But as you take a deep breath, and each week would start new, and I got there, got my feet wet and more anchored, I felt more confident, and I enjoyed it. I was learning a lot more. There's a lot of nuances, as you know, when it comes to insurance. I wish, and today, and I can touch on this in a minute, but I know today in the education world, some of that managerial and insurance billing reimbursement components is part of the AT education, but it wasn't when I was in school. And so getting into that was a lot to take on. I was asked to move into a practice manager position. And I paused there to take a deep breath.
That seems like a voluntold type of thing.
It was kind of that. It was kind of that. I had watched 3 practice managers come in and leave. And when they came in, they were enthusiastic. When they left, it was not a pretty sight, because they were just burnt. I was asked to say, hey, you got a great relationship. We'd love for you to, jump into this role. Now, it was probably the worst year and a half of my career from a enjoyment factor, but man, I learned so much that has really advanced me to where I am today. And as I needed to get out of that environment, because I didn't feel I was as productive. It was kind of, I think it's one of those stepping stones. It wasn't something that was supposed to be a position where you live in forever. And I think if anybody, any healthcare that you're in, even our athletic trainers, just because you started out in secondary schools, or just because you started out in college, doesn't mean you have to finish your career there. There's some lifelongers that stay in their career or in their setting for their full career, and that's awesome, but it's few and far between. But I really, I saw a colleague that left, took my position at the Space Center, and he was there for 4 or 5 years and has moved on and is now working with Amazon as an injury specialist, and is doing great things and bringing on athletic trainers with Amazon. And if he wouldn't have broken that mold and ventured off, he would have never experienced that. And so, I experienced a lot. And so now where I'm in a management type role, where we are actually being so strategic in our partnerships with AdventHealth. And one of the things I put in there is how we can use athletic trainers in a physician office, and can we get reimbursed for them? Can we make profit off of them? And so I really, I'm on the NATA, the National Athletic Trainers Association, has a third-party reimbursement initiative task force, and me and about 4 other individuals, we are initiating education and training and research and pilot studies on how athletic trainers can be reimbursed for certain procedures in a physician's office or autonomously on their own. So as you're bringing in an AT, there's actually potential that there's CPT codes that you can bill. And so it's educating these insurance companies on ATs being a licensed healthcare provider, because a lot of them don't, just like maybe some listeners today, haven't heard of the athletic trainer or thought we trained Olympic athletes or high school athletes or something, but we're actually a medical provider. We're very in tune with the human body and injury diagnosis and injury prevention and injury care. And post-op care is a huge component. So working in an ortho office, working in a chiropractor office, working at many different locations, we can bill. So that turmoil of my career there that I wasn't so happy with and didn't really feel comfortable in, was because I was learning. And so sometimes when you're not comfortable in something, it's because you can't just relax and you're on your toes the whole time, right? So I was learning so much. So when I left, it was like, it was an answer to prayer that something new was coming up and I was going in a new direction. But I look back and go, man, I probably wouldn't understand half of the insurance and the billing components. I wouldn't understand the business strategies. I wouldn't understand, as I now work with, I work with many different service lines. So when I call an ortho office and I talk about an ortho meeting with our athletic trainers or supporting us in this event, I know behind the scenes what's going on in that ortho office because I was there. I know the stress and the volume that they are under in order to deliver the great services that they provide. So I don't, like I said, to answer your question, I don't think it was a mistake. I don't think I made an error. I think, I'll tell you this, every job that I have, I pursued. So when the internship came up, I pursued it at the Space Center, and I interned there and they said, would you like to work? And I pursued it until they hired me. And then when they hired me, when I wanted to leave, I didn't just quit and leave. I actually wrote a proposal to an ortho and said, this is how I can make your office more profitable. I can increase your volume by allowing me to assist you in your clinic. And after about 8 months of education and advocacy for that, they said, yeah, we want to do this. This is great. Thank you for bringing this to us. And boom, I made that move. And then as we got into, AdventHealth, I had applied for a couple different positions with AdventHealth in a couple different areas and was trying to find the right niche. And when we got in this discussion for this role that I started out with, it was like I was helping them mold the job. There was still maybe some open-ended questions of what the role would look like. And I was able to, say, hey, this is what I would do. This is how I would design it. And it's actually more, I think I'm on my third promotion or redesign of the job, because it no one really knows what it's going to turn into, especially when it's a new role. So you got to be persistent and you got to pursue what's your passion. And so I don't know. I mean, mistakes, we all make mistakes and we all say the wrong things or do the wrong things, or maybe I don't regret my professional career as an athletic trainer. I don't regret going to my master's right away. I don't regret getting my MBA that took me 4.5 years to get and was grueling, but I can lean on that now. For a while I thought I was going to be at the Space Center for my whole career, but I realized that, man, there's a lot out there and I like to be challenged. I don't know about you. I like a new challenge. I always want to learn. and I always want to grow.
Yeah,
So
and I have to say, from me doing the externship with you, that was one of the main reasons I said, oh, let me bring this guy Mike that I know that's an athletic trainer in the area. Let's get him into the office. We're going to have him coming in. I'm having nutrition coming in by the new year. We're going to have a medical director that's going to be able to oversee them as well, versus just somebody with my chiropractic license. Having the medical director does help out, and we're going to be able to build something great here, and be able to get the rehab going and start working more with the athletic training side of it.
that's whole person care, right?
Yeah.
You're hitting them at all the angles. I think that's great. I'm seeing. I have a colleague that is an orthopedic surgeon that just took a new role in Central Florida, and that's the first thing he did before he opened his doors. Is he put out a search for an athletic trainer to assist him in the office and in the OR, which is just phenomenal. He sees the potential, and more docs are seeing that, and more physician offices. And I think you're going to see athletic trainers in urgent care centers, helping with musculoskeletal injuries from like that bump and bruise. We're at AdventHealth. We're expanding our concussion programs and really trying to utilize our athletic trainers to extend the concussion service from a physician standpoint. So yeah, it's great. That's a good move for you. I'm sure. I'm excited to see how it turns out, and hear some good stories.
Me too. Me too. What's cool about this guy is he comes in with his World Series rings from when he was with the Cardinals. So I was like, that's just that. I'm like, that's cool, because it's just neat to be able to work with somebody that's been through other different avenues, and now they're moving into a rehab portion. So for the people that are looking to go out after athletic training, what's some advice you could give to the potential students out there?
So you're asking students that are going into the profession,
Yeah, they may not have decided yet, or they're maybe a semester or two into athletic training. Just some advice to the student.
Yeah. Well, so first off, if you want any information about being an athletic trainer, what the profession looks like, what the education looks like, check out nata.org. NATA.org is the National Athletic Trainers Association. And they have a plethora of information on there to educate you about that. Also, the BOC. So BOCATC.org is the Board of Certification for Athletic Trainers. That will talk about the education requirements, the accreditation process of some of the schools. So first off, if you want to get into athletic training, make sure your school is an accredited program through the BOC, the Board of Certification, because you don't want to waste your time going through a program that doesn't allow you to sit for the national certification exam and kind of elevate you in your future. So make sure it's accredited, and you can get all that information online. If you have an opportunity, and you would probably vouch for this, if you have an opportunity for an internship or an externship or wherever it may be during the summer before you graduate or after you graduate, take advantage of it, because it's going to open up doors that you probably wouldn't have walked through initially. So when I went to East Stroudsburg University for my undergrad, for my master's, went to Illinois State University, and I did them right back to back, like no breaks, and it was my first summer at Illinois State. It was either stay in Illinois and take a basket weaving course, because they didn't offer most athletic training courses and stuff like that over the summer, or use your time and get an internship. So I did, and that's when I got the internship at the Space Center with Rehab Works. I mean, that internship was brand new. The ink was still wet. The walls were still raw. It was a brand new spanking program. So getting there from the very beginning was really cool. But my mind was set that I was going to go to North Carolina, South Carolina, something like that, find a big high school in the rural setting, and where I couldn't wait for those Friday night lights when the whole community came out and cheered on the football team and cared for these out. That was my picture of my profession right there. I had no idea about corporate industrial athletic training. Florida wasn't even in my radar, let alone I was like, that's the place you go to when you want to go see Mickey Mouse, but it wasn't a place to go for a career, So, I would tell anyone, a student that is out there that is working towards their athletic training degree, you may have a passion for a setting, and there's nothing wrong with that. You have a passion for secondary schools, you have a passion for collegiate sports, you have a passion for corporate, industrial, or performing arts. Go for it. Follow your dreams. Stay on track, but always keep a wide open peripheral view of what comes up, and take advantage of these internships or these externships. And if anything, get involved with your state association. So here in the state of Florida, we have ATAF, the Athletic Trainers Association of Florida. I had the privilege of being the president of ATAF for 6 years, and just rolled out this past year. And watching these young students over that 6 years go from the student program and then get employed and then get engaged on these committees is great. And so get involved with your state association, with your student program, and your district organization, because there's a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, a lot of mentors that are there for you to grab hold. So having a mentor, getting the internships, keeping your options open, and that's probably true for most professions. But right now, the education platform has moved that you do graduate with a master's. So it's you don't have to worry about going to undergrad and do I get my master's. You're going to get it because that's how the new curriculum is written. And so you're going to graduate with a good degree. Don't settle for less when you get that job, and enjoy. You want to wake up where you're at and enjoy it. So, and if you make a mistake along the way, it's all right, because there's plenty of years to recoup from it, right?
Yeah, and so it looks like we're about out of time. This was wonderful, and I like the way you put it. When I put out mistake, everybody makes mistakes, and the fact that you learn from them and you can look back on it and just say, "Oh, that molded me to where I am now." That's what I think people need to look at. Failure is okay as long as you can use it to improve yourself. So
Absolutely.
if somebody wants to get a hold of you, you're at AdventHealth. How do they get a hold of you? Any of the athletic trainers or potential ones out there?
Email would probably be the best thing. You can go to Erik, ERIK.Nason, NASON @adventhealth.com.
All right. And if anybody is looking to get a hold of him and just can't remember, you can always contact me, and we can definitely get him in contact with you. So again, thank you, Erik, for joining us. My name's Dr. Jason Alviene, and this was Structurally Sound.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and hosts and do not necessarily reflect those of WebmasterRadio.fm's management or sponsors. Any rebroadcast or redistribution without authorized consent of WebmasterRadio.fm is prohibited.